In my last ranking create mod add-ons video, I asked you guys what I should rank next, and a lot of you suggested Farmer's Delight add-ons. That's actually a great idea. Farmer's Delight is almost always played with the create mod, and it similarly has its own ecosystem of add-ons. Now, the main problem is that a lot of the more popular add-ons kind of follow the same schematic. They pick a general theme and add a bunch of food items that correlate to said theme. There's nothing inherently wrong with this, it just means there's not a whole bunch to cover, so I thought I would rapid fire through some of the more popular ones that follow the scaffold and then take a bit more time on the ones that add unique features. Okay, Ocean's Delight. This mod is basically the #1 example of a basic Farmer's Delight add-on. It's simple, but in my opinion, it's a little lackluster. It has a lot of content surrounding Minecraft's oceans. Well, I mean, obviously. It makes looting ocean monuments a little more interesting, but honestly, it's not the most exciting mod in the world. It does add Guardian Soup, which is a good source of food though. C tier. Nether's Delight. If you ever thought Minecraft's Nether lacked food options, this add-on is for you. It adds a handful of new foods that you can get in the Nether, as well as a few decoration and utility blocks, like these furnaces and stoves, and rich soul soil. It changes the Hoglin loot tables so they don't just drop pork now, which is a fun change. The food it adds is also pretty good and viable late game. B tier. Ender's Delight. This mod is actually really polished. This is the first of 2 end add-ons that I'm covering, and it definitely wins on its nuance. It adds 4 different plants that naturally spawn in the end, which are used to make the food, which I appreciate because even though it's not much, it alters the gameplay a bit where the player now has to go out of their way, instead of just making the ingredients drop from the end mobs. Another thing I really like about this mod is the descriptions. When items are dropped from mobs, JEI doesn't show you any info, so these little subtexts are really useful and more mods should definitely do this. The custom shulker bowls it adds make the mod feel more polished, and not to mention it has amazing art. B tier. Ender's Delight. In my opinion, this mod isn't as polished as Ender's Delight, but it makes up for it by having more fun content. The items in this mod feel more sporadic and less organized, which in my opinion is kind of actually an advantage because it makes the food stand out a little more and makes it more appealing. Alongside this, the consumables give really good buffs, which can be used as an enchanted golden apple substitute. The most extreme example of this is the fried dragon egg, which is ridiculously expensive and very impractical, but it gives really good buffs. Overall, it's a good add-on and it's definitely not boring. B tier. Miner's Delight. This is probably the biggest mod in the rapid fire section. This mod is centered around mining content. It adds a bunch of new cozy cave themed food items, and it also gives a use to bats, which is genuinely something I've never seen before. The food it adds is also quite good. The stuffed squid is a really good source of food as it's fairly cheap and gives 5 minutes of nourishment, which is huge. You can also find these cave carrots that spawn underground. These can be made into copper carrots, which can then be made into haste potions. This completely cuts out the use of a beacon for insta-mining setups and is a really cool and creative way of changing progression. The items in this mod are all really cool and on theme. A tier. Cultural Delight. This mod adds some foods from across the world as well as a bunch of new plants. I think the items in this mod are really charming, but not the greatest in practicality. I think my main issue with this mod is that it only adds the plants and the foods and nothing else, so it's kind of forgettable. I do think the items it adds are really cute though. C tier. Rustic Delight. This add-on is amazing. It's probably a good time to mention the fact that I love when Farmer's Delight add-ons add placeable foods. I think that makes it so much more interactive and fun. Rustic Delight adds content that fits so well with the base Farmer's Delight mod. I feel like if you like the vibe of Farmer's Delight, you're automatically gonna love this add-on. My favorite part has to be the pancakes. They offer a lot of customization and the 3D model looks absolutely fantastic. The progress, in my opinion, is also really polished and well thought out. A tier. Okay, now on to the longer reviews. Vanilla Farmer's Delight definitely misses out on fruits. That's where this mod comes in. Fruits Delight adds a bunch of different fruits to the game. They can be found scattered across your world in different forms, like for example figs and peaches grow on their respective trees, while lemons and blueberries are found in these bushes. Each fruit can be crafted into a respective jam and jelly, as well as some other more personalized items. The cool thing about this mod is that each fruit corresponds to a different potion effect, which gives an early game alternative to brewing. Their effects last a lot shorter, but they're way easier to make. I think this is a great way to actually give these consumables a use, because otherwise they'd just kind of act like apple reskins and would probably just sit around in your chests forever. The jam and jelly items can be crafted into blocks that act like honey and slime blocks respectively. jam acts exactly like honey, and jelly almost acts exactly like slime, but with one difference: they don't pull other blocks. This confused me at first, but then I realized it was because jam and jelly blocks that are made of the same fruit are cross-compatible. This means you can pick and choose exactly where you want your blocks to stick and where you don't. There's probably some crazy redstone potential here, but I'm not smart enough to utilize it. Some downsides, in my opinion, are the textures sometimes aren't that nice. Also, plants like the lemon tree and blueberry bush don't really match the color of the grass surrounding it, which can make it look kind of out of place. Still, overall a good add-on, and I like how it changes progression by making potion effects way more accessible. B tier. This mod is similar to Rustic Delight in the sense that it adds features that should definitely already be a part of vanilla Farmer's Delight. Delightful adds some decoration and food items that are very cottagecore, which is very in line with the overall theme of the base mod. It adds a lot of cute and charming content, but in my opinion, it's got one flagship feature. A whole shelf full of feminist literature, by the way. Have you guys heard the new Love album? Jokes aside though, the matcha is actually an incredibly interesting feature because of the fact that it gives you haste 2 for a semi-long period of time, and it's really early game, which gives you access to the effect before even entering the nether. This could be incredibly useful for strip mining early game, as before you have access to enchantments, mining feels really slow. It also means you're able to insta-mine stone without the use of a beacon, which is pretty huge because beacons are a massive pain and expensive. It's also got the added benefit that it's portable, so you can carry it around wherever you go. I really like this change because it's so useful. It basically forces you to engage with this mod and go through the cooking process. I'm pretty sure this add-on is also a create mod add-on too, because it adds some cross-compatibility features which I found to be a little random, to be honest. Overall though, the food is great, the add-on fits with the theme perfectly, and the matcha adds a really interesting change in progression. A tier. This add-on is kind of unique in the sense that it's the only one on this list that actually adds a mob. Although the crab doesn't do that much, it's enough to make this add-on stand out amongst the rest. Overall, I would say Crabber's Delight has slightly different progression to most of the other add-ons, and this is due to most of the items being obtained from this physical block, the crab trap. A lot of the food items in this mod are really powerful, and they're kind of balanced out by the fact that the crab trap yields items really slowly. Another touch is that in order for this block to work, it needs a 3x3 area of water around it. This means you can't just automate it and mass produce these really powerful foods. This add-on also gives you the ability to craft this kelp shake, which gives you dolphin graze, which is obviously an otherwise unobtainable add-on unless you're near a dolphin. I just thought I'd mention this because it's a fairly unique feature that I don't really see other mods doing. Oh, it also adds 2 decoration blocks which you can make using pearls and nautilus shells. The pearl block is just okay, but I really like the texture on the shell block. Anyway, it's a solid add-on, but I'd say maybe not the most interesting. B tier. This feels like the right point in the video to quickly say that for my next ranking, I want to rank really obscure and weird create add-ons, so if you guys have any suggestions, make sure you leave them in the comments below. There's really not that much to say about this add-on, to be honest. It adds storage drawers and no food. To be honest, I literally had to double check if I accidentally installed some random mod because this add-on seemingly has nothing to do with Farmer's Delight. And then I realized that the drawers are in fact based on the ones in the main mod. Oops. This mod mainly just gives you options for decoration. It's not as flashy as other Farmer's Delight mods because it obviously doesn't focus on the food. It can be nice to have some variance in your world, so there is that. The only reason this mod wasn't included in the rapid fire section was because it doesn't follow the stereotypical Farmer's Delight template. This is a quick one though, I really don't have any more to say about this add-on. C tier. It wouldn't be a Tids video if I didn't at least mention something Create Mod related. Slice and Dice adds compatibility between the Create Mod and Farmer's Delight, and once again, considering that these two mods are always played together, this is definitely a pretty useful bridge. This mod is great because it doesn't overcomplicate the process. It only adds 3 items, and of these, only the slicer is actually used to automate items. I'll cover the others in a second. The most important feature of this mod is allowing you to use a heated mixer setup instead of a cooking pot. This feature means that the mod adds compatibility for every single Farmer's Delight add-on out there. If there's a recipe that requires a cooking pot, you can now do it with a mixer. Although it is possible to use deployers and autocrafters without slice and dice, this add-on just makes the process so much easier. The second feature this mod adds is the sprinkler. This thing has all kinds of uses like spitting lava and applying potion effects, but I'd say the main feature is definitely fertilizing plants, using the newly included fertilizer. That's the third feature. Very on theme with Farmer's Delight and Create. This mod, however, suffers one flaw in my opinion. Although the mod is great, I find that I don't actually end up using it that much. I think the main appeal of Farmer's Delight, to be honest, is the food making process itself. Cooking food by hand and following the steps is low-key the best part of Farmer's Delight, so for that I will say, personally this add-on isn't used as much as you might think. But overall, you can't deny that it's still a really good add-on, and for the times I do use it, I really have no complaints. B tier. In my last Create mod ranking video, I covered a structure mod that, in my opinion, wasn't that great. From that, I made some conclusions. If you're gonna make a structure generation mod, it needs to nail 3 criteria. Firstly, the structure's gotta look nice. Well, yeah, of course. Secondly, they have to generate looking natural. And finally, they have to be well balanced. If I walk into a shack and find blocks of diamonds, where's the fun in that? Farmer Structures absolutely nails every one of these categories. And when I explored these structures, I thought they were really well made. They kind of fit the vanilla vibe with a rustic twist. They utilize some features to make some really creative decorations, and the loot is balanced. This one even spawned with a lake and looks natural. Like, this has me questioning, was the lake there before and the structure spawns over it? Or does the structure spawn the lake? If you know anything about structure generation in Minecraft, please let me know in the comments, that would be wonderful. Personally, my favorite is this nether house. I like how it generates with this cage section and a placeable food item. The loot here is good, but also in line with generally what you'd expect to find in the nether. This mod just does generation so well. A tier. So I mentioned earlier that I love it when add-ons add placeable foods, and I think the reason behind this is because it gives you a different reason to actually go out of your way and craft these items. Consumables from Farmer's Delight do definitely give really good stats, don't get me wrong, but just for people like me who have played mainly vanilla Minecraft their entire lives, it's kind of hard to break the habit of just simply resorting to steak or golden carrots as your main source of food just because it's reliable. Foods that allow you to place them down are a whole different story. They're good decoration, and having it in your world makes the process feel rewarding. Vanilla Farmer's Delight only has a few of these items. That's where this mod comes in. Display Delight gives you the ability to place down almost all the Farmer's Delight food items. Each item has their own unique design, and the art is so amazing. Look how tasty this looks. I firmly believe that this should just be a base mod feature because it genuinely elevates the experience so much. Being able to put down the food and look at it makes the baking process so much more fun. However, it gets even better. This add-on is compatible with 9 other Farmer's Delight add-ons, and every single one of them looks amazing. It genuinely brings cultural delight from a C tier all the way up to an A tier. These models are so cute. This is genuinely the one Farmer's Delight add-on that I'm absolutely devastated about it not being on Fabric. I would kill to have these placeable foods in my survival world. I know some Farmer's Delight add-on developers have watched my past videos, so if by chance you're a developer for this mod and you're watching, please port it to Fabric. This mod is perfect. S tier. Staying kind of on the theme with placeable foods, this might just be my favorite Farmer's Delight add-on. If you've never heard of this add-on, basically it allows you to create your own sandwiches, which is already pretty cool. But the gimmick is that it allows you to use any consumable items. This means all foods and drinks from vanilla, every Farmer's Delight add-on, and every other mod that adds any sort of food. There aren't many limitations, so you're pretty much able to just be as creative as you want. This mod works by adding up the properties of all the ingredients in your sandwich and giving you everything at once, which means alongside just being a really stupid fun add-on, it also has some really good use cases. You're able to put potion effects into your sandwich, which means if you're planning to use a lot of effects at once, you can put everything in one sandwich and save a lot of inventory inventory space. This also applies to all previously mentioned Farmer's Delight add-ons, so you could for example utilize the haste from the matcha and combine it with a night vision potion to make a mining sandwich. Not to mention sandwiches that have the same ingredients stack up to 16, so you're able to bulk carry them. This brings me to my second point. Because they stack, it makes more early game food items such as carrots and baked potatoes much more viable as long-term food sources, as now you're able to stack 4 or 5 of each item into one sandwich and get the aggregate hunger and saturation. Even one sandwich with 4 carrots is enough to almost completely fill your hunger bar. Everything I also previously said about the placeable items absolutely applies here. The sandwiches look so good when they're placed down in your world. Hate me all you want for this, but this might be my favorite. Did I not already say this? Yeah, this is an easy S tier. Okay. As I don't really know how to properly end videos, so I'm just gonna finish it before you get the chance to click off. Okay, bye bye.